Hey everyone, it's Justine, and for the Misti 101 series that I was doing, I wanted to recap with 10 ways to use the Misti in a very quick, easy video. Number 1 is basic stamping. This is the heart of the Misti and the main thing you're going to use it for. All you do is put your card base or whatever you're stamping on in the corner of the Misti tool, and then you're just going to simply add your stamp. You're going to need that black foam in the back there if you're using a clear stamp, and you're going to take that out if you're using a cling stamp. You're just going to pick up your stamp. If you need to readjust your paper, you do that. You ink it up, and then you stamp it onto the sheet of paper. Number 2 is accurate stamping. Accurate stamping means you can stamp things in the same place more than once. For example, I just finished stamping this thank you stamp, but I can also ink it up again and get a better impression and stamp it twice. Number 3 is solid stamping. So stamps that have a very, very solid background are really easy to do with the Misti. They usually don't stamp very well the first time you stamp them, so it's really nice to have an area of play here. So for example, I lined it up in my Misti pad here. We can put it in the exact same place as I had it before, ink it up again, and stamp twice, and I have this really dark background. Die cut placement. This is a little bit more involved in the sense that you need to actually die cut something. So I'm going to be using a stamp set from Newton's Nook to show you. I'm going to take a coordinating die from this set here, and I'm going to die cut that using my die cutting machine on a piece of white cardstock. So I'm going to stick my die in the machine, roll it through the machine, and then I am going to simply go back to my Misti and stamp that accurately in the exact position, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to take out your die cut as well as the area around it that was cut. So here I had a card base, for example. I'm going to stick my black foam in because it's a clear stamp. I'm going to add my die cut to the middle, but before doing that, I'm just going to line up my stamp here, have my Misti pick up my stamp, put in my die cut, stamp my stamp, and I'm going to get an accurate placement every time. Number 5 is mirror stamping. You can really stretch your stamps, especially your critter stamps, by mirror imaging them. For example, I can stamp this pterodactyl in both directions. I'm going to remove the black because I'm using a cling stamp, and I'm going to stamp it onto my mirror imaging tool. I'm going to stamp it twice just to make sure I'm accurate. I'm going to put a piece of card down, and I am going to rub the back of it using my fingers. I'm going to lift it off, and you'll see I get a very clear impression. And then I can simply go in, place my stamp in normally, and stamp as I would normally, and I get the stamp in both directions. Number 6 is stamping on textured paper. This is one of my major challenges, and when stamping on watercolor paper is textured, so it tends to not give a really solid black image, and that's, since I use the Misti, is something I expect from all of my cards, is a nice clean and crisp image. So I'm going to stamp this more than once. You can see here how it's kind of faded in some areas, but when I stamp it twice using the Misti, I get a nice black image. Layering stamps. Layering stamps are stamps that need to be stamped in stages, and the Misti makes this really easy. Now this does stick to my paper a little bit because it's a newer stamp, as well as the fact that it's such a solid area. So I'm going to stamp the first stamp here using a light shade of ink. This is Alteneau's Layered Lily stamp, as well as the Alteneau Purple Gradient inks. I'm going to stamp the second stage using the medium color ink. And I'm going to be able to get perfect placement every single time. And this is really great, especially if I want to create these cards in bulk. And then I'm going to go in with the third one. I'm going to line it up again, pick it up with my Misti, ink with the darkest color that I'm going to be using, and stamp that down. This is going to give you some really realistic looking stamping. Number 8 is mass production. You can mass produce your cards. For example, like in the first video I showed you in this series, I am going to stamp the thank you sentiment more than once. So all you need to do is just line up your stamp, pick it up using the Misti, ink it up, stamp it down, and then you're just going to repeat this process over and over. You simply need to repeat this process over and over again until you have exactly what you need. And you can leave your stamp on the Misti tool as you're doing this. So all you do is just replace the paper and re-ink the stamp and keep closing the cover. Number 9 is DIY backgrounds. If you want to create your own background, it's really easy to do. For example, I'm going to be using this stamp set here from Concord and Ninth, and I'm going to place a whole bunch of the flowers that are available in the stamp on my paper, and I'm just going to rearrange them until I get an image that I like. Once I have the background that I like, I'm going to simply close the cover, pick up all my stamps, and I'm going to ink them up all at the same time and stamp them on my background. You could stamp this over and over again by just replacing the paper and re-inking each time, and you can create bulk backgrounds as well, and bulk patterned paper to use for your collection. The last one is number 10, and that's gradient stamping, so stamping everything in an ombre look. So I'm going to be using this lyrics sort of stamp or script stamp from Tim Holtz, and I'm going to ink the whole thing up using the lightest color of one of the, it's called Sea Glass from Altenew. I'm going to ink this all the way onto the image, so the whole image is going to be stamped at this point. And then I'm going to go in with a medium color in the middle and randomly stamp that. And then I'm going to go in with the darkest color towards the bottom, and I'm going to have them overlap slightly as well. I'm not lining them up in a line because that would make really harsh lines. So I hope you enjoyed the 10 ways to use the Misti. If you want to find out more, just click on the blog and the supply list up above. I have 2 videos here that use the Misti that you can check out. Or if you click on the subscribe button in the middle there, you're able to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching.